Hey, have you ever said you were gonna wake up early and then hit the snooze button and not actually gotten up? Of course. Have you ever said, hey, I'm gonna go to the gym tomorrow, and then tomorrow comes and you don't actually go to the gym? Probably. Have you ever said, I'm gonna launch a business, or I'm going to go and visit that friend or call my mom, and then you didn't actually do it, even though you know that's the right thing for you? Of course. See, we all do that. In fact, humans have struggled with this for forever. Thousands of years ago, there's guys like Plato and Socrates were writing about this same concept. Why do we as humans say we want to do something? We define what it is that we want to accomplish, and we know that is the right thing for us, and yet we don't get it done. They call that the acrasia effect. Acrasia, I don't even know if I'm saying that right. The idea was like, we're acting against our better judgment. We're acting against our ideal self. We're acting in opposition to our future self, the person that we have defined that we want to become. Even though we know what to do, we don't do this stuff. Heck, even the Apostle Paul in the Bible says, like, the things I want to do, I don't do, and the things I do, I don't want to do. What's wrong with me? We all struggle with this problem of knowing what we want to do and having things that we know would benefit our life, get us closer to our future self, and we don't do it. My name is Brandon Turner. I'm a real estate investor with over 13,000 units. I've been in online business and real world business for the past over, 20 years now. Wow, I'm getting old. And I have found myself continually facing this acrasia effect over and over and over. And I get so frustrated with myself because I can't seem to get it done, the stuff that I wanted. So I have learned over the years that I maybe lack self-discipline. Can anybody else identify with that here? Can you identify with a lack of self-discipline? Yet here I am with 13,000 plus units and multiple companies. I want to talk about 3 ways you can hack your lack of self-discipline. Like, let's be honest, all of us struggle with self-discipline. If you don't, I'm envious. But my guess is there's areas of your life you struggle with that acrasia effect and the self-discipline to actually continually do the stuff you know you need to do. So I just want to lay out 3 simple things that have worked for me in my life, tactically tangible things that have improved my life and hopefully will do the same for you. Sound good? All right, number 1, the first thing I recommend for everybody to do, I call it the MINS, M-I-N-S. Write that down, MINS. So let's say your goal was to buy a rental property. Again, I'm in the rental world, so let's say I want to buy a rental property, right? Oftentimes I'll ask people if I'm doing coaching or whatever, I'll say, hey, so what's your most important next step? MINS. And they'll say something vague like buy a property. And I'm like, that's important, that's on the track, but what's your most important next step? And they'll say, oh, well, I gotta get a real estate agent. Okay, that's great, that's on the line, the step, but that's not the most important next step. Let's break it down smaller. And so I guide them through it. Well, I guess I need to post an ad or post a post on my Facebook asking my family and friends if anybody has a recommendation for a real estate agent. Ah, there we go. Now that is a tangible, tactical thing that can be done in under 5 minutes. This is a monumental truth. Almost all success in life, almost anything you can achieve, you could build a rocket to go to Mars and anything in between just by doing 5-minute steps. Almost nothing takes more than 5 minutes when you break it down to the smallest part. And so when we get into the habit of asking, what is the most important next step, we usually find that it's a 5-minute task. Send an email, make a phone call, run the numbers on a property, make a post on Instagram. It's all like small little things. Now, when you combine them all together in this row and they're all aligned, that's when we see massive growth in our life. And the more rapid you can make that question, what's my most important next step, and then do it, the faster you can iterate on that and get faster and faster and faster. Identify the most important next step, do the next most important next step. That's how you're gonna get it done. One final metaphor on that idea, think about it like a book. How long does it take to read a book? Like what? Most people read a book in probably 2 weeks to finish a good old chapter book, like a nice, personal development book. But does it really take 2 weeks to read a book? Of course not. You read for an hour, you put it down, you pick it up like a week later, you read for another 45 minutes, you put it down for 3 days, you pick it up for another, hour, and after a few weeks, you finish the book. But what if you read just simply 20 minutes every day? You'd probably finish it in, a week? What if you read for 20 minutes every 3 hours? You'd finish the book in 1 day, maybe 2. The point is, these little chunks, when we can just stack them together by asking ourselves, what is the most important next step, and then scheduling that or doing it, the more rapid we can do that, the better success we can get, and the more we can overcome the acrasia effect. Number 2, I love this concept of tracking habits. So tracking your habits. There are things that we do that lead to the the results we want. We often call them in business lead measures, right? If I wanted to buy a rental property, I would make more offers. I would analyze more properties. If you wanted to blow up your Instagram account and make it a big Instagram account, you would do certain things. Post 3 times a day. You would spend some time researching what's going to be popular. Every result that we want in life is preceded by some kind of process or habit or action or series of actions needed to get there. I mean, this works for personal too, right? Like, I want to improve my relationship with my wife. Okay, I'm going to go on 2 dates every week. I'm going to have no kid connection time, I call it, every single day. These are habits, and if I do them, the results will take care of themselves. It's one thing to know that there's habits to do. We just talked about the mins, so now we know what we got to do. How do we make sure we do it? Well, as you often have heard in business, is what gets measured improves. And so I actually track 9 habits every single quarter of things that line up to my goal, which line up to the vision for my life. In fact, there's a little habit tracker here. I'm gonna actually show you. So this little habit tracker is exactly what I use every single week. And so at the top, I always write down my top 3 goals, whatever that I'm working for. Some specific, measurable, attainable or actionable, depending on how you look at a SMART goal, relevant, time-bound, you get the idea. So what are the goals I'm gonna work at? Again, let's go back to the analogy I've been using already, which was buy a rental. Buy a rental, don't mind my bad handwriting. And then I won't worry about the weekly one, but that's just, what's one thing I can do for sure that has to get done to get this goal. But I got my 3 goals, number 1, number 2, and number 3. But then I write down my habits, and it might be date night with the wife. It might be analyze a deal, might be post on Instagram. And then all I do is I set a target. How many times in a given week do I want to do this action or this habit? Oh, I would like to do a date night 2 times a week. I want to analyze a deal 5 times, and I want to post on Instagram 12 times. Now I've got a target. Now throughout the week, every morning, this is 30 seconds of work. I simply check or dash. Did I do it or did I not do it? So every day I check, and maybe multiple checks on one day, maybe not. So by the time I'm done with my week, I now have a bunch of checks and a bunch of dashes that I can add them up and say, hey, I got my 2 out of 2 date nights. Oh, I analyzed only 4 out of 5. But hey, I did 7 out of 12 of my Instagram posts. And what this allows me to do every single week is to gamify my better life, my improved life. And so I can say, hey, my target was 12 plus 5 plus 2, which is what, 19? My target was 19, and I actually only did, was that 13? So 13 out of 19. What is 13 out of 19? Let's see if my watch can get it. 68%. So I got a 68% on my week with tracking my habits. If I can get closer to 100, I'm doing more of the actions that lead to the result that I want. The result that I want leads to the life that I want to live. And that's the second thing I'm going to encourage you to do to hack your lack of willpower is simply track your habits. The third one I'll be short on, it's this. Get around people who believe in the power of your vision. And what I mean by that is if you believe that you are capable of greatness, don't surround yourself with people who are going to pull you down and keep you from that. So if you got to pay to get into a group, if you got to just find a bunch of buddies, if you got to form a little accountability pod where you meet every week with people and say, this is my metrics, here's my most important thing, here's my habits, here's my score, do that. If you can do those 3 things, you will overcome your Akrasia effect, you will overcome this lack of self-discipline, and you'll soar to incredible heights. My name is Brandon Turner, Beardy Brandon on Instagram, and I wish you the best life possible.